I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
We welcome you all to slow motion for this presentation of the Formula Vee Weekend Warrior Series, and we're about to grab the start in just a few moments' time. It's going to be Megan Overstreet leading them to green with Ladar right alongside. We're waiting for that green flag to come at, and the drivers are now on their way. Some of these drivers may be a little bit more aggressive towards the end of this race, as side by side with Love and DeGassis heading into 5.
Oh, it's close. It's a bit treacherous on the corner. Rex is just seeing Lynn run wide there, Ron.
Down the running order, Love and Brewster, meanwhile, they have been in the tow and they've seen all these drivers try and do their own maneuvers. They definitely have something cooking behind the wheel of those FV race cars. As Montgomery gets that move done, one's running at the back. Well, not actually running right now, I don't believe, as there's a spinner with Ladar.
Oh, no.
Oh, and there's contact as well.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final week of Season 3 of the Formula V's here for the Weekend Warriors through SMB. My name is Adam Thompson, and I am joined by the wonderful, the lovely, the best commentator not only in the world, but the universe, Ron Maunz. Ron, welcome in, buddy.
Well, thank you very much for that rousing intro, Adam. Really hyping up the crowd with that one, and excited to get things rolling for the final time here from Season 3 in 2024. We've done a few of these broadcasts over the past few months, and they've been some pretty exciting races, harkening my mind back through the races we broadcasted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I think it was Summit Point was one of them. Brands Hatch we did as well. We also had a race at Laguna Seca. All of them have been incredibly entertaining thus far, and here bringing this season to a close at a wonderful classic circuit in not only the world of iRacing but the world of real life racing as well. Formula V's usually run around this track. We're running on the classic layout as well, and we are excited to have some fun for the final race of this season. And we also have a few championships to crown as well, Adam.
I cannot wait for all of that, but first, why don't we get into the points here? So for the S1 class, we've got Jesus Rodriguez up there sitting in 888 points with DeGassis in second, with Jim Brewster following him up there in third place. Real quickly, let's get to the S2 class because we got some qualifying action, I think, to get to here, Ron. It's going to be Michelle Lynn with 667 points, but watch out, Gary Wobolt right behind her in second place with Brian Hansen and Jason Greider locked in a battle for that third place. Real quickly, don't forget the drop weeks here. I don't think they've been calculated yet, so anything could happen. Let's hope that Stevie can get us some points here after the end of this race. But let's get into the qualifying action real quick here, see if we can find somebody still on track and try to do an onboard lap. We do have a new producer in the booth, by the way, the new owner of Slow Motion Broadcasting by the name of Daniel Zippy Salmon. So we're going to try to get some onboard action here. Looks like we're looking at Ladar right now. Let's hope he keeps going, and he will. Driving down the front straight. Get ready. Here we go. Going into Big Bend. He's going to get as far left as he can. It's a very late braking marker, but be very careful because this corner just keeps on going and going and going. You can wash out to the left if you're not careful. Barely makes it. Now, back to the left. Speaking of left, we're talking about left a lot. Now we've got a little bit of an S here. This is the second big bend. Now, I believe there is a new name for this straightaway that I already forgot. And Ron can tell me after this lap. Now we're going to get into the uphill, though. Right-hander hauling. This is going to be lots of draft. There are no chicanes where we're running today. Lots of draft all the way. You got another right-hander coming up here. You might have to lift just a little bit. Then we start going downhill, and this is when you have to be brave. How much throttle? Can you take it full speed? He's going to have to catch the curb on the right-hand side. He's going to wash out left if he's not careful. Does it? No problem at all. Parvinder Ladar, coming across the line, and that will complete your very quick lap around Lime Rock. 1 minute, Ron.
Oh yeah, it is blisteringly quick around this racetrack. I will say the Formula V's are I think the only cars in iRacing that can do an above 1 minute lap around Lime Rock Park. These cars can barely scrape about 100 miles an hour with the wind at their backs, but it is still some pretty good racing that we have with this series, and this qualifying session is coming to a close in just a couple of moments time. And going back to that point that you mentioned during that onboard lap that we had with Ladar, it's the Paul Newman straightaway, named that way back in 2022 after the late great actor, who is a big race fan, of course owned an IndyCar team for many moons. But with this qualifying session coming to a close, it's going to be the leader in the S1 standings and dominant driver so far this season. Jesus Rodriguez is going to be leading them to green. A 1 minute .725 lap time is pretty good, but you can see that gap between himself and Jim Brewster on that front row was incredibly close, 0.029 of a second. These Formula V races are always incredibly close, and here at Lime Rock, with a decent chunk of the lap spent at full throttle, I think we're going to have a barn burner of a race here today, Adam.
Oh man, Ron, we've had a barn burner here every time we've covered these Formula V's, and I am so excited to be on the call with you today. We've got results, though, here. We are going to have the grid very shortly, and look at that, man. He is on it. First time already on it. Jesus Rodriguez there in first place with Jim Brewster. Second, Alan DeGassa sitting in third with Chris Montgomery in fourth. Brian Stuzinski rounding out your fifth spot. By the way, Chris Montgomery, first S2 driver, up there on the second row of the grid with Guido Marzucci there in eighth place. I think I forgot about Parvinder Ladar there in seventh. Gary Woolbolt in 10th with Matthias Marin starting in ninth. Michelle Lynn all the way back in 11th place with Ken Poulin here in 12th. Now, Ron, let's see if our producer has figured out how to skip all the way back into 18th. Nope, he's going one at a time. That's okay. It's after you, Ron.
Oh, come on. You can't hark on the producer too much. We've got David Fitzgerald starting this race in P13. Hank Mel going to be starting in 14th. Then we've got Michael Latarulo, there we go. Second pronunciation, second time's a charm. He's going to be starting this race in 15th. Jason Grider going to be starting in P16. Brian Hansen in 17th, and Wayne Buttermore going to be starting this race in P18. Rounding out the grid in the 373 car. The entire grid covered by only 0.7 of a second. Really, it's a pretty strong indictment, for lack of a better term, as to what the action we always see here at Lime Rock Park. A lot of these drivers also run in the other Weekend Warrior Series broadcasted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting every single Sunday. Lots of these drivers run in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, and a lot of these drivers run in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors as well. The Spec Racer Fords actually already visited this track many moons ago, back for, I believe, the opening round of the season all the way back in June. But here for the Formula V's, they're going to bring this season to a close. We've got some nice championship fights and some fantastic storylines heading into this 30-minute race, waiting for that green flag to come out. The field is now in the hands of our pole sitter Jesus Rodriguez and Jim Brewster joining him on the front row. The green flag is out and the drivers are on their way as the smoke goes up in the air. These drivers are banging through the gears and some defensive maneuvers already. Look at Brewster having a terrible start. He's getting swallowed up. He's getting chewed up and spat out. Heading into turn number one, already dropping down to fourth. And Alan DeGassis, who actually won 2 weeks ago here on Slow Motion Broadcasting at Zandvoort. He's gotten off to a pretty good start, up one spot from where he started in this race. Got a move done on Brewster. Meanwhile, we're riding on board with the 333 car of Chris Montgomery. He's currently the top running S2 driver, currently running in third overall, only 0.3 of a second back of Jesus Rodriguez. And so far, most of the field heading through lap one incident free. I think I may have just jinxed it, though.
I think you absolutely did. Hank Melee looking like, or Mel maybe looking like we may have an incident here going through the left-hander of the S's. See exactly what happens to Hank here. Does he just get loose? Is it cold tires? Is it contact? Looks like a bit of cold tires, and then there's the contact. Oh, no.
Whoa. Oh, that was a big one heading through turn number 4. These drivers already breaking the elbows out. Look at this, 3 wide at the north end of the field. DeGas is going to try and take the lead with a power move into turn number 1. He is going to shuffle Jesus Rodriguez back down to 4th. So Rodriguez, who started this race at the front, started from the pole. He's now dropped down to 4th, only 2 laps into this race. Really, these Formula V races could be best described as a 100-mile-an-hour game of leapfrog, and we're definitely seeing that in the early stages with a whole lot of shuffling, notably Brian Straczynski actually dropping back and causing a whole lot of drama in the mid-pack of this field.
Absolutely, and I do want to apologize. Anytime we mention Guido Marzucci, it is not Marzucci, it's Marzucchi. So Guido, I apologize for all of the broadcasts we've gotten that wrong. I promise you, we will get it right today in your fart. Oh my goodness, what a name. Speaking of Guido, though, he is locked in a battle right now with Brian Straczynski and Paul Ladar right in front of him.
And here we go. May see him pull a 3-wide maneuver in just a couple of moments' time. We've got Straczynski and Ladar going side by side, heading down that Sam Posey straightaway into turn number 1. Marzucchi going to back out of it with Lynn and Paulin actually feeling really racy around him. Look at that move from the 241 car to slip his wheel down the inside. Nice stuff from that driver to get that move done clean heading into turn number 1 and 2. But Marzucchi dropping back now down to P8. This is the kind of action we were expecting with Lime Rock being the final race of this season. These drivers spending a whole lot of this lap flat out and bending that floor pan in these Formula V race cars, and we've already seen that get put on full display. Another big indictment of that is the fact that Dan Straczynski, running in 5th in this race, already has the fastest lap of the race at a 1:08.92. The draft playing a huge role in these FV races, today being no exception.
And don't worry about his brother, Brian. Brian still has plenty of chance to catch up if these drivers back here can keep it single file, as there's a battle right now between DeGassis and Brewster. Who's going to get this going down to the inside? Looks like DeGassis is going to hold on, but call it Chris Montgomery coming up the inside as well. Brewster's lost 2 positions.
It goes to show you the kind of drama we were expecting heading into turn number 1. If you just get slightly out of whack, you will drop down the field like a rock. So Brewster putting that on full display right there. He's still got a very fast race car. Is actually one of the series admins here for the Formula V Weekend Warrior Championship. So no shortage of experience for the driver of the 133 car. He's going to try and pick up the pieces and maybe get a move done in the not too distant future to slip his way back up the field. Still running in 3rd though, so we can't really say he's dropped down too much. Right now it's Alan DeGassis, the driver of the number 4 car, leading them on lap number 4. We've got Chris Montgomery right behind in the 333. He is still leading it in the S2 class with Dan Straczynski, the tail car in this 5-pack at the north end of the field, being the second running S2 driver. But look at this, the field fanning out 3 wide, going down the Sam Posey straightaway. DeGassis, Montgomery, and Brewster. Got me 3 wide. Brewster on that inside line. Who is going to prevail and take the lead of the race? Montgomery backs out of it. Brewster on that inside line. He's going to hold strong and true and take the lead of this race. Meanwhile, DeGassis and Montgomery, they're side by side heading into 3, with DeGassis holding on to remain in P2. Meanwhile, Jesus Rodriguez was having to deal with a challenge from Dan Straczynski right behind. But these drivers racing oh so hard early on into this race. Unlike some of the other Weekend Warrior Series broadcasted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, the race is a little bit shorter and these drivers don't have to worry about a pit stop at all. Only 30 minutes in length. It is 30 minutes on track with no ifs, ands, or buts. So these drivers are racing very aggressively, despite the fact that we're barely 5 minutes into this 30-minute long race.
I just thought that was an amazing move by Brewster. He falls back into 3rd place after turn 1, and he said, I'm going to go ahead and take that back. But the question is, can he hold on to it? Are they going to go 3 wide again? They're thinking 4 wide now, Ron. It doesn't look like they're going to, though. Brewster elects for the outside line here into 1. Montgomery gets by him. We have an S2 leader now. Everything's popping off here at the front of the field. Don't look now, though. It looks like there are things happening behind him as well. There are 2 packs of very angry Formula Vs.
And that pack right behind is just as intense. At the pack at the north end of the field, we've got Poulin, Stasinski, Fitzgerald, Laturo, and Wolbolt all involved. I believe Marzuki also has a piece of that. The driver running down in 11th. This race is absolutely ridiculous with a decent chunk of the field. We've got two groups right now, and one of the drivers that was involved in that group may have been Michelle Lynn. I think she's had an off-track moment, and she's now in the pits and out of it. I think we're going to take a look at a replay. You can see Lynn on the outside. That's on the outside grass heading through turn number 1 and 2 there. So I think Michelle may have had a little bit of contact, and you can see a little bit of crabbing with that Formula V race car heading into 3, and she just spins out with the suspension damage she picked up. That was a major bit of drama that gave her that damage, and that's taken her out of that fight. And here we go, a big pack. This is a battle right outside the top 5. Ken Poulin in that 241 car holding on to that P6 spot, but the fight between Stasinski and Fitzgerald right behind is still not cooling off.
No, it is not. And quickly, while we were talking about Michelle Lynn, her buddy Will decided to sponsor this broadcast today for Steel Valley Vapors out in Ohio. I hear he might be doing a bit of a get-together today with some buddies at his shop there, and I think they're all watching this race. So, Will, thank you so much for broadcasting this race and allowing the last race of the Formula V's to be on slow motion broadcasting. But enough about that. Sorry, Will. I know you're the sponsor. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the racing here. We've got Lattarullo. We've got Rodriguez. We've got all kinds of things going on right now, and it looks like Brewster going for the move now. Cuts DeGassis off. DeGassis was going for it. Brewster back to the inside. No, Rodriguez goes for the block.
And we've got some 3-wide action right behind involving Stasinski, Fitzgerald, and Poulin. These drivers are not giving us a single dull moment. I feel bad for our producer, Daniel. Oh, and that's a spinner off the track. Who was that going off the circuit? Heading into turn number 1. I believe that may have possibly been Ladar. Actually, no, that may have been Guido Marzuki that spun off the track heading through 1 and 2. I really feel bad for our producer, Daniel. Has to be like a chameleon looking at about 14,000 different things at once. And this is a replay of what happened heading into turn number 1 and 2 right now. That's Big Ben and Owil. Some big contact between Marzuki, and I'm not sure who that was, that driver that he hit. Possibly was Wolbolt. I'm not too sure exactly who that driver was. It was either Wolbolt or Lattulo, but either way, some pretty big contact, spinning the Italian out of a decent running position.
Yep, that is very unfortunate for Marzuki, but the good thing about this is he might not be out of it depending on how much damage he has, but the question is how much damage does Poulin or Lattarullo have? But don't worry about that because we're 3 wide again. They just will not stop at the front, Ron.
Oh, these drivers are just trading blows like it's going out of style. This is more like an MMA fight than a Formula V race. These drivers are just racing absolutely ridiculous, and nearly a little bit of contact between Brewster and Montgomery heading through turn number 3. That was a wonderful camera shot that we had on the back of Brewster's car as Montgomery came within inches of running into the back of him. We nearly got a fantastic view of what the inside of a Formula V nose cone looks like as they went through turn number 3, but these drivers maybe starting to calm off a little bit. Actually, no, knowing my luck, they're going to be trying to go 4 wide down the Samposi straightaway in about 15 seconds time. But these drivers battling oh so hard and up and down the field as well. The fight between Fitzgerald, Stasinski, Poulin, Lattarullo, and Wolbolt is still hot a little bit farther behind. But look at this. This is a fantastic view running on board with Jesus Rodriguez, the driver of the 76 car. He's got a fantastic run. He had to back out of it. Yeah, he did think about it. That was a big thought that he had heading into turn number 1. Decides to back out of it, understandably so. These Formula V cars, they're like mosquitoes in the world of motorsports. They're just around the racetrack, but they're still just big enough whereby I think 4 wide going down the straightaway at this narrow old school track that was built all the way back in the 50s. I think that would have been a recipe for disaster. What do you think, Adam?
I think it would have been. And speaking of disasters, I know you guys, if you guys are new to this and watching this for the first time, you see a lot of smoke coming out of the back of those cars. If this happens in your road car that you drive to work every day while you're downshifting, take it to the shop immediately. These guys don't have to go to the shop. It might be scary. I think they've blown a few engines already. They haven't. It's just when they downshift, a lot of fuel gets stuck in those engines, and it has to get rid of it somehow, and it comes out of the exhaust. So don't worry about the smoke in the downshifting. We're going to see that the whole race. But with that being said, we're back to the front again. And it's 3 wide again.
Oh, yeah, these drivers getting even more aggressive. I think they heard me saying that they're going to try and start to take it a little bit easy, and they're just trying to play me like a fiddle. Montgomery's starting to pull away a little bit. Brewster actually being locked steady in a fight between himself and DeGassis for P2 and P3, respectively. Look at Jesus Rodriguez still involved in that. And this man has gotten a fantastic view of this. This is the 899 car of Dan Szynski. He's been running in P5 for a decent chunk of this race, and is running some pretty good lap times. Best lap so far is a 1 minute point 892, which at one point not terribly long ago, he actually held the fastest lap of the race. Ever since then, though, I mean, he's just been biding his time with how hard these drivers are racing a little bit farther out the road. He may just stay back here, wait for these drivers to come to blows, and then just blow their doors off and sneak away with the victory. Now 11 minutes into this 30-minute race, and right now we've got Montgomery leading Brewster in P2, DeGassis in third, Rodriguez and Szynski rounding out the top 5. And look at this, 3 wide, and look at Rodriguez getting a whole lot of run. He may be doing some fuel saving as well. He can certainly afford to do with the big lifts he has to have heading down the San Posey straightaway into turn 1. He may try and make it 4 wide, though. He may run out of patience soon. Brewster nearly running out of track as he ran wide heading through Big Bend, but Montgomery holding on to that lead and actually extending it a little bit. So Chris Montgomery, I think the driver running in S2, has been the driver to lead the most amount of laps overall so far in this race. This is the most comfortable lead anybody has ever had, and that's really saying something in these Formula V races. In fact, a half a second gap that is just cratered over the past few moments' time is considered a comfortable gap in these races.
Yeah, it is, but let's take a look here. We've got Fitzgerald back there that has overtaken Szynski, and now he is only 2 seconds back. They were 2.5 on the last lap. These drivers are starting to work together, I think, unless they decide to go 3 wide. They might not. Let's see if they're working together here. There might be a bit of an overtake here in the 5th and 6th position, but who cares about that? Because they're going back to battle again. Brewster on the outside. Now, in second place, Montgomery gets that one back, and you can see in the back here, they are overtaking each other one at a time, and look at how this gap's closing down to 1.4 now, Ron.
Yeah, this is something that the drivers at the north end of the field really need to take into consideration. Once you get sub 1 second, that's when that gap just craters, because these drivers hit that slipstream area. Montgomery, Brewster, Rodriguez, DeGassis, and Szynski have enjoyed running this race all by themselves, but with that hard battling and them going 3, nearly 4 wide down the San Posey straightaway pretty much every single lap so far in this race, it's costing them out on a whole lot of time. Szynski is going to be the first one to catch up to them. Actually lost a little bit of time heading through the middle sector of this lap, and they've actually got the driver with the fastest lap of the race right now, Latrullo, running in 9th at a 1 minute point 3. Look at this. These drivers may be feeling a little bit more racy, and look at Rodriguez running into the grass down on the inside, heading down the San Posey straightaway. These drivers are still racing really hard, 3 wide into turn number 1 and 2. I don't think so. Those drivers don't want to have a repeat of that, because I think they were very lucky that they went through that corner without one of these Formula V race cars ending up on their lid and tumbling for so far that they ended up in Bermuda. But Montgomery still holding on to the lead. Brewster in P2, Rodriguez in 3rd, and credit where credit's due to Rodriguez for having the absolute audacity to nearly do a pass in the grass heading down the San Posey straightaway. That was nuts.
Yeah, it was. And don't look now. It is 1.6 now. David Fitzgerald, Brian Szynski, everybody is right there. So it's still coming down. If they keep going 3 wide, this is not going to last long for these leaders. This 5-car battle is about to turn into a 10-car battle. So we still have half of a race left, Ron, and they are going 2 wide. Actually, they're keeping it a bit cleaner this time. I think they figured out that this gap is really closing. Nope, just kidding. Let's go 3 wide again. Why not?
Yeah, here they go into 1 and 2. How Rodriguez going to get that move done. Slick stuff from the Spaniard to slip his way up into the lead of the race. Still got Montgomery running in P2, DeGassis in 3rd, Brewster dropping down to 4th, and Dan Szynski running in the top 5 spots. Then he's got his brother Brian Szynski right behind. Both of those drivers are Formula V racers in real life, so they know their way around this race car, and they're showing their skills off right now, running in P5 and P6, keeping it clean and keeping it at their competitors. They're also keeping they're also just keeping their heads on their shoulders, because occasionally what we see in battling, whenever it just ramps up and ramps up and ramps up, and considering this battling has been going on for the first half of this race, if it continues on for all the second, we may see it end in tears, because these drivers will start to get a bit more aggressive. They'll start to get a bit more frustrated with each other. And 3 wide now heading down the San Posey straightaway. Rodriguez, DeGassis, and Montgomery 3 wide, fanning out, actually no, going into 2 wide. Look, Montgomery nearly trying to pick up the pieces and make it 3 wide yet again, but DeGassis gets that move done to slip his way up into first. Rodriguez still remaining on P2, and Montgomery holding on to that S2 lead for now. However, it's looking like that fight in S2 is going to ramp up a whole lot, because that pack behind the top 5 is made up entirely of Spec 2 drivers, and once they catch up, it's just going to be absolute pandemonium. We're losing our minds over a 5-car battle for the lead and the podium in this race. Once it turns into a 10-car fight, though, I'm not sure how we're going to cope, Adam.
Oh, no, I don't think we're going to be able to. And I know, Ron, you've been doing some broadcasting today, and your voice may be gone already. Mine's going to be gone at the end of this 30-minute race. But we're back down the front straight again, and it looks like they're going to try to go 3 wide again. Let's look at this battle back behind them, though, and see if they're going 3 wide or if they're trying to stay in line. There may be a bit of an overtake here. No, they are staying in line. This is crazy up front, though, and look at what this gap has done. It's down to 1.2 now, Ron.
Oh, and those drivers at the north end of the field are battling even harder than they have before. DeGassis now leading in Montgomery in P2, Brewster in third. Then you've got Rodriguez and Szynski running at the top 5, but right behind them, this 5-car trio, well, not 5-car trio, that's not the correct phraseology at all. This 5-car pack of Fitzgerald, Szynski, Poulin, Letrulo, and Wohlbald, they're working together as pseudo teammates. They're not actually teammates. However, they're certainly acting like it. They are cooperating with each other, which cannot be said about the front pack 5. The real question is, though, are they going to have the pace to try and close up that gap? I mean, it all depends on how hard these drivers start to battle, and if it ends in tears. DeGassis started this straightaway leading it. How is he going to end it? We'll just have to wait and see. He's now dropping down to P2. Montgomery's on his outside. You've got Brewster, Rodriguez, and Szynski looking to pick up the pieces as well. Not close enough to get a move done on DeGassis, but Montgomery, the S2 driver, got to be able to clear him heading through turn number 2. Well done. Fantastic stuff thus far in this race for Chris Montgomery. The driver in the Spec 2 class has been leading overall more often than anyone else has so far in this race. That 333 car has spent a decent chunk of this 17 coming up to 18 minutes that we've had so far in this race up at the front. He has put on a very good show, but he has had to fight like hell to try and hold on to that spot, occasionally losing out on it. But this was the action we were expecting with Formula V's around Lime Rock Park, and the action is still going to continue here, Adam.
Oh, it ain't over yet. I promise you that. Don't worry, guys. We still have 7 minutes. That is zippy math, actually. We have 12 minutes left. So we are back here at the lead, 1.3 seconds behind them. They are all working together. It's still 3 wide. When are these drivers going to realize that if they keep battling like this, they're going to have to worry about more than just that guy in 5th of Dan Szynski. They're going to have to worry about David Fitzgerald and Brian Szynski and Ken Poulin and Latterulo and Wohlbolt. Everybody's back there.
They're going to have to deal with them in probably about 1 or 2 laps time. That gap has now gone below a second. It went below a second heading through 1 and 2, and it's now coming up to only half a second. That slipstream is so powerful in these Formula V race cars. Once you break through and finally get in it, then you just get sucked up to the back of the cars right in front of you. It's like these cars, they have an exhaust pipe on the back, but it feels like they have a vacuum cleaner attached to the back of these race cars. The slipstream is so powerful in them, and we're going to see that put on full display. That half a second gap now going onto the San Posey straightaway, about to click over to lap 20. That is going to diminish, and here we go. DeGassis and Montgomery, they're going to be side by side. Rodriguez and Brewster are going to be involved in a fight, and look at this pack of Formula V race cars heading into turn number 1. DeGassis on that inside line, going to try and wheel it on the inside of Montgomery, but Montgomery, if he can hold on to it on that outside line, dipping into the dirt on corner exit, he's going to be back on that inside line and clears off the challenge from DeGassis. Brewster now holding on to that final podium spot on P3. Then you've got Rodriguez and Szynski, who were the final cars in this fight, but it's now 0.3 of a second between Dan Szynski and David Fitzgerald. This is going to be a dramatic conclusion to not just this 30-minute race, but this entire season here for the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors. We have got 10 cars covered by barely any air. This is going to be an outrageous grandstand finish here on slow motion broadcasting. And if you're tuning into the stream for the first time here on SMB, gives you one hell of a reason to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well, because you want to tune into this action whenever you can and have it in your veins. Look at Brewster running into the grass, going down the Samposi straightaway. The smoke going up in the air as they're 3 wide nearly, heading into turn number 1. Brewster on that inside. Rodriguez trying to get moved on to slip his way into second. Montgomery, the S2 leader, fighting like hell to have some cushioning between himself and the S2 pack right behind. He's not going to get it. Instead, he's going to lose the S2 lead for the first time. He's now side by side with Dan Szynski. These two battling for P4 and P5, but they're also battling for the final S2 win this season. And now, if he runs into some trouble, Montgomery is going to be in a world of hurt, and that was contact heading into turn number 5. These drivers are getting even more racy, even more risky. That was Fitzgerald and Szynski making wheel-to-wheel contact. Usually side-to-side contact in some GT racing, that's a little bit excusable. Here in some open-wheel race cars, you can't do that too much. Otherwise, you're going to see a car turn into an airplane.
Wardenfall, are you not entertained, my friend? Here we go. We have 9 minutes left in this race. It's 10 cars. It's anybody's guess who's going to take this win now. Everybody, Ron, is racing extremely clean. This is a great show of sportsmanship and racecraft from all of these drivers up front, but it's all right. Jesus Rodriguez up here in first place with DeGassis holding up in second. That was almost a move with DeGassis. He thought about it, but he held on to it. Brewster sitting in third. Chris Montgomery is probably wondering what the hell has just happened. He's winning the race. Now he's battling Fitzgerald for 5th for the S2 win.
And some viewers may be wondering what the hell on noise I just made as they went out of turn number 2. Dan Szynski was mega sideways, managed to keep it going in a straight line, but turned his tires into rectangles. That's actually broken this field up a little bit. I believe now the last car involved in this fight is Brian Szynski running in 7th. That mistake from Szynski has actually broken it up a teeny tiny bit. Tough for Szynski, who's running 2nd of the S2 drivers, running in P5 for a decent chunk of this race, and the one mistake he has is going to cost him a whole lot. Meanwhile, look at the Hornets nest of Formula Vee race cars that we have at the front end of the field. Brewster leading in Montgomery in P2. He's now fighting like hell with Rodriguez, the S1 championship leader. Montgomery, the S2 leader in this race, that is. He's running in 2nd. He's led for a decent chunk of this race, not just in the class, but overall as well. Brewster, meanwhile, he is going to try and bring a little bit of civility to this, because this race has been quite chaotic, and we've just haven't had a dull moment at all throughout this race, Adam, with the top 7 still covered by barely any air. Any driver running in that top 7 could really have a fantastic shot of taking the checkered flag in this race. And even outside of that, if these drivers come to blows and have some sort of major pileup, we could see the likes of Dan Szynski, Gary Wobolt, and Matt LaRullo running outside that pack, running just barely inside the top 10. We could see them sneak away with the victory in the final race of the season. But here we go. Montgomery had a great run coming onto the Samposi straightaway. He's now going to be side by side with Brewster, heading into turn number 1. And look at these drivers battling hard. You've got the DeGassis now going side by side with Poulin and Fitzgerald. Those two going side by side. The racing action is so intense here on slow motion broadcasting tonight. I'm stumbling over my words like it's coming out of style. These drivers have just been battling so hard up and down this field, and the race still isn't even over. We still got 6 minutes left on the clock, Adam.
We do. Jordy, welcome into the chat, man. I miss you. I hope Spec 5 is doing well, and I am glad you've tuned in for this last 5 minutes of this race. Jimbo Brewster, though, we got to watch out for him. I think he might have this figured out. I think he's starting to figure out when he needs to be, where he needs to be to overtake, to take this win. It's going to be very, very interesting here, but that is okay, Jimbo. Gonna try to go for another move. He's going to the outside. Very, very aggressive maneuver by Chris Montgomery to the inside. Chris now going to be probably swallowed up on the right-hand side of this track. Thinking about 4th place right now. Maybe. Maybe. No, Montgomery holds on a second, but Jim Brewster now in a battle with DeGassis. Oh, this is close.
Oh, and I believe that was Poulin that was running wide, hang through 1 and 2, nearly went off the track. We never nearly saw another driver fall out of this intense front pack, but this is just absolutely insane what we're seeing towards the end of this Formula V season and this Formula V race. We got some side-by-side action with Poulin and Szynski. Those two are battling for P6. If they battle too hard, they're going to lose touch with Fitzgerald running in 5th, but this is just insane. We've got Rodriguez running at the front, Montgomery in P2, Brewster in 3rd, DeGassis in 4th, and Fitzgerald rounding at the top 5 for now. That order can be entirely shuffled between now and the end of this Sam Posey straightaway at the beginning of lap number 26. They're eating the laps away and dancing the night away at the north end of this field, and they are trading blows like it's going at style. Montgomery now trying to get that move done on Rodriguez down the inside, hanging to turn number 1. Jim Brewster's going to follow. They're going to be side by side, hang through 1 and 2, and Rodriguez going to try and back out of it, but cut it in front of DeGassis so he doesn't lose out on another spot. He pulls that off successfully to remain in P3. Alan DeGassis, we should not discount him at all. He won the last race that we had broadcast here from the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors Championship at Zandvoort just 2 weeks ago. Took his first ever win in the series with that victory. I think DeGassis is a driver that we should not discount. He led earlier on in this race, actually finished the first lap of the race in the lead, so running in P4 and keeping a clean race car. He's also been seeing what these drivers have been doing. He's seen their weaknesses, their strengths, and everything. So I think DeGassis has a really good shot to win. But honestly, Adam, I think predicting this race is like predicting a lotto winner. It's just so difficult to try and do it.
I have no idea who's going to cross the line first. Really, we got to figure out who is trying to set up this move going into the final lap. And when can you do it? Can you be in 3rd? Can you be in 4th? Do you need to be in 2nd? That's what all these drivers are trying to figure out, because that start-finish line is almost 3/4 of the way down the track. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And don't discount Latarullo. He could win this race. I've seen crazier things happen. Let's talk about Spec 5, which you weren't a part of, Ron, on the last lap where all 5 leaders crashed out going into the bus stop. Anything can happen here, Ron. Absolutely anything.
I remember one season ago, I remember just 1 season ago covering the Weekend Warriors runoffs at the Daytona road course, and we had the 2 drivers who were leading and dominating that race come to blows going on to the tri-oval for the final time in that race, and that gave the victory to Megan Overstreet, who is not joining us for this race, but may be in attendance for the Weekend Warriors season finale tomorrow. But look at this, the front pack fight is still heating up. Montgomery, Rodriguez side by side, they're going to clear each other, and look at Brewster trying to follow on that inside line. Rodriguez getting shuffled out. He's going to be stuck on that outside with Poulin and DeGassis looking to follow. Rodriguez now in a spot of bother. He's going to drop down to 4th. Not ideal run hang through turn number 1, 2, and 3 for the Spanish driver of the number 76 car. But these drivers are just racing so hard. They've been racing like it's a final lap of the race for the past 28 minutes, but we are coming up to that final lap in this race. And I guess it would be about 2 laps time. They're coming to take 2 to go this time by, I believe. Yep. But either way, maybe some sketchy public school math notwithstanding, these drivers, they're going to be battling like it's a final lap of the race. They've been battling like it's a final lap of the race ever since the drop of the green flag 28.5 minutes ago. And as they're coming to 2 to go, it's going to be Montgomery in the lead for now. Brewster had one hell of a run coming out of that final corner. They're going to be side by side heading into 1 and 2. And look at Poulin and Rodriguez maybe getting involved in the fight.
Whoa, there was a weave there. I believe that was by DeGassis. No, maybe that was Brewster that weaved, almost took out that whole backfield back past 3rd place. I can't even talk anymore because I have no idea what's happening. I do want to shout out real quickly before we get into this lead pack again. We've got Latarullo. We've got Wobolt fighting Szynski now as well. We have not covered that because there is so much going on, but I've seen lead changes back here as well. Guys, welcome to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome to trying to broadcast a race as good and as level as the Formula V's and the Weekend Warriors are.
I think I said this earlier on in the broadcast, and I'll say it again as they're coming to take the white flag this time by. I feel really bad for our producer, Daniel Zippy Sammy, and welcome here to Slow Motion, man. You've had one hell of a job on your hands throughout this broadcast, and look at this Montgomery weaving like it's going out of style, coming to take the white flag. It's only one more lap around here for the season finale of the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors Championship, and Montgomery leading them off into turn number 1 and 2 for the final time. Brewster and Rodriguez, they're battling for the final 2 podium spots. Look at DeGassis and Poulin. They may have a good run. Szynski and Fitzgerald involved in this fight as well. These drivers are battling hard, and look at DeGassis trying to make up a spot. He's going to be on that outside line, hang through turn number 4. Will he be able to stick it? He's going to have a great run going on to the Paul Newman straightaway for the final time. But with those two battling, oh my God, they are still side by side. They finally cleared out heading into turn number 5. But with that battling, it's turned it into a 2-car fight between Montgomery and Rodriguez. The driver leading in S2, the driver leading in S1. Rodriguez, a presumptive champion in the premier class here from the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors. He wants to end this season in style and end it with a bang, but look at the gases. He's got a fantastic run. These drivers gonna be bending their floor pan. Look at the weaving. Look at the gases. All these drivers battling hard, trying to grab the final victory this season, and as they crash, coming across the line and barrel roll. It was Montgomery who won it by only 0.005 of a second over Jesus Rodriguez after over 30 minutes of racing action. We may need to call an ambulance for some of those drivers that got involved in that incident, but oh my God, those drivers wanted to win. Some of them had to finish the race upside down, but oh my God, these drivers gave it 110% from lights to flag, and when it was all said and done, Chris Montgomery was able to win it by the skin of his teeth.
Freaking real. The fact that every driver crossed the line where they were coming across before that happened. I don't know who's on their lid right now. That looks like a Fernando Alonso move way back in the day, but it was at the end of the race. Unbelievable racing. Oh my goodness. Chris Montgomery, I don't know how he knows. I don't even know if he knows he's won yet. He might still be trying to get rid of that concussion he just got.
I'm not even sure if he remembers what racetrack he's at. That was a pretty significant whack for a lot of the drivers involved. And look at that, DeGassis, the meat in that sandwich. And oh my God, that is... I've seen some very bizarre photo finishes in my time broadcasting. That has to be at the tippy top of the list. Montgomery and Rodriguez crossed the line. And look at Brian Szynski with some aerial acrobatics. Oh, he didn't land it on his wheels. Actually, did he? I think he did a quick barrel roll, and then he lands it on his wheels when everything was said and done. But oh my, I'm not even sure what in the hell could be said to describe that finish. That was absolutely ridiculous, Adam, but also it was absolutely fantastically entertaining. And I'll tell you what, anyone tuning into this stream here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, you tuned in for a fantastic one. I think that is grounds to subscribe. There could be no doubt about it. I've seen some strange photo finishes in my time doing iRacing broadcasts, but seeing Montgomery and Rodriguez pretty much pyramiding on top of each other, they hit so hard that they were nearly going to front flip off of the front end of each other's cars to be separated by only 0.005 of a second when everything was said and done. That was absolutely outrageous. And credit where credit's due to Jim Brewster. I don't even think we talked about him too much, but I mean, we talked about him throughout the race. Do not get me wrong. He was involved in that lead pack fight all throughout the race. But coming across the line, barrel rolling down the Sam Posey straightaway into turn number 1. I believe, if I'm very much mistaken, Jim Brewster's hometown track as a child was Lime Rock Park. So for him to finish the race today in the fashion that he did was unbelievable. But Adam, speaking of unbelievable, here are the unbelievable results, and the top 4 covered by less than a tenth when everything was said and done.
Unbelievable results. Chris Montgomery in first place, 0.009 to Jesus Rodriguez there in second, with DeGassis coming home third. Brewster in fourth, and look at that gap. Brewster in fourth place was not even a tenth of a second away from that win after everything happened, with Ken Poulin in 5th place, Brian Szyczki rounding out your top 6, David Fitzgerald, Dan Stasinski, Gary Wobolt, Michael Lattarulo, if rounding out your top 10 with Guido Marzucci, Parvinder Ladar, Wayne Buttermore, Matthias Marin, and Jason Greider rounding out your top 15. I'm going to talk real slow here to see if Zippy can move the rest of the field, and I think he has. We've got Michelle Lynn, Brian Hansen, and Hank Mell rounding out your top 18. And Zippy, I'm going to remind you to go to OBS and go into the interviews scene, please, sir. But we do have some interviews here that we're going to get to after Zippy can figure out how to do a replay and a quarter speed replay and pull up the interview screen. This is going to be great, guys. Get ready. We're going to have some fun.
This is employee abuse that I'm seeing right now here on slow motion broadcasting. I'm just searching for a cough drop, which after that finish, I feel like I needed to save my poor vocal cords. So as we get that loaded up, I think, we've talked about it a little bit throughout this broadcast. I should mention again, and we'll also touch on it between now and the end. The Weekend Warriors, the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, and the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors will also be rounding out their season in just 1 day's time, actually a matter of a couple hours time as well. So if you want to tune in for some more exciting Weekend Warriors action from Laguna Seca with the Formula Fords and Alton Park for the Spec Racer Fords, you know where to find it here on YouTube, only here on slow motion broadcasting. And I think we're going to get that squared away in just a couple of moments' time. Adam, who would you like to have a chat with?
Well, I think we're going to bring in the admin of this league, one of the admins of this league. Jim, you finished.
I'm taking credit for that race.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking credit.
That was an unbelievable finish across the line, man. I don't know how you were worried about it. It was a great race. The whole thing was amazing. Kind of walk us through it. Did you ever figure out where you needed to be to win the race, or was it all just kind of, we're going to figure it out when we get there?
You know, I love racing this league. I love any help I can do to create it. The wins, the second, the thirds, that's nice. The only thing I was thinking of today, Chris is S2. So I knew if he and I get to kick front, that for the first time in my life, I might have gotten the most laps led. But I didn't care about that. I just, this is how good we can race. And this is how good we race if everybody's just a little bit careful. Chris was really being forceful. Alan was really forceful a few times. And you just have to let him go. And then that last lap, if you crash at the finish line, who cares, right? I mean, Anyway.
It was... I don't really know how to sum up what we just saw for 30 minutes, to be honest. My wife...
Tell me, how many lead changes did you count?
I don't know. I don't think
we lost count.
Yeah, we lost massive count there. My fingers, my toes, nothing goes that high.
The only other thing I did on purpose was, did you catch me passing Chris in West Bend that one lap? See, Chris was very careful, was very sending the message that he wasn't to be messed with. So every once in a while, you have to put in that mystery, crazy thought. So I passed him once in West Bend just to say, hey, I'm just about crazy enough to do this, Bubba, so remember that.
We did. We actually did see that. I actually do remember that now, actually, coming up through the West Bend. And there was a pass in the uphill well. I don't know if you were involved in that battle, but there were passes all over the track the whole time, Jim.
Well, you have to keep them guessing, right?
You do. You have to. That's the only way. That's the only way to keep the young kids on their toes,
Yeah. I want to say hi to Tam. Michelle for sponsoring this room. She has her whole crew that sponsors this group supposedly watching this race, so hello to them. Also want to say hi to Brad Gould, our Spec Racer Ford buddy today. Unfortunately, ran into from the back at Summit Point today and balled up a perfectly nice Spec Racer Ford. He is fine. He is healthy, but bad luck for him. I'm going to go out there and do some spectating at Summit tomorrow. So anyway, thanks to you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you went nuts trying to keep track of what was going on. And I look forward to see what was happening, a little farther back, because I knew they were catching us because we were playing too many games. I knew that was going to let them catch up.
Jim, here's the deal. There was so much going on up front. We tried to cover the backpack, but the backpack was definitely staying in a bit more of a line than you guys were up front, and that's why they got to you. I believe there was a bit of a slide from Dan Stasinski that kind of caught the back 7 out, but you guys caught two more of them caught you before Dan's minor mistake, which is all he needed. But they were in a much more
he was with
formed
us.
line.
Dan was with us most of the run. Yeah, he was just sitting there, doing a real good run.
Yeah.
The big shocker was Ken showing up.
Oh, I know. We all know.
That was like, where'd Ken come from?
Exactly.
I go into the big band, and I'm used to seeing that crazy red, white, and blue car of Chris's dive to my inside. Well, Chris was in front of me, and all of a sudden I'm on the outside, and I see another red and blue nose. I'm going, who's the other red and blue car? I said, what's Ken doing up here?
Well, Brian, Jim, I would ask you if you would need anybody else to shout out, but I think you've already shouted out most of the drivers in this league. Tam is sitting in the chat saying thanks, Adam and Ron, and she said hi to you as well. Jim, thank you so much for putting together a league like this.
I look forward to seeing a good report on Tuesday night. I've been a little whiny and complaining about not getting the full story on Tuesday night, so I hope with the video today we'll get a good story on Tuesday night.
I think we absolutely will, and I've got to work on that. I've got Labor Day Monday off, so we're going to get some things worked out so we can actually get some videos shared for you on Tuesday night. By the way, tune in for The Racing Line. Jim, thank you so much for being with us today.
And hey, show up on Friday sometime. I see you guys are already thinking about it, so we'll see you on some Friday.
I think you're going to see me a little bit more than Friday come next season, Jim. I think I might be out with you.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you so much for your time. All right, now, who you got? Who you want to bring in here, Ron? I think we got to bring in the winner, right?
Yes, we do. Chris Montgomery is now joining us in the commentary booth. And Chris, that was just pure chaos from start to finish. A good kind of chaos, though, because it was absolutely brilliant to watch. I want to ask you about the race in general, but I also want you to talk about that finish pretty much nose to nose with Jesus Rodriguez coming across the line and sneaking out the victory by only 0.005 of a second. Talk us through everything from this race, because, I mean, we saw it in the commentary booth, but I don't even think our eyes could do that do that race justice.
Well, were you entertained? Because we were. We got 5 minutes in the race.
We were.
We got 5 minutes in the race. We're bouncing around, and I'm like, man, I got to do this for 25 more minutes. This is crazy. Because there's literally no rest. A lot of times with the V races, I don't mind getting out and just kind of riding for a little bit. But with this track, the draft is so strong, you kind of have to keep shuffling the whole time. And I love Lime Rock. This was my hometown track growing up. I'm from Connecticut and SCCA brat, so I spent a lot of time on that hill that we're circling around as a kid, and just love that track and always want to get out here to race. But as far as the race itself went, just like you saw, it was a lot of just every lap having to pass, find what would work. Knew very early on that being in first on the last lap is probably not where you wanted to be, but that's just kind of where it worked out for me. I tried to hold the inside line a lot coming down the front straight. Even though you're going to get past, I found that typically if you're on the inside, you would only lose first generally and not fall back too far, because it's so easy to get passed by an entire pack, and then that's a lot of digging. But everybody was, racing very hard, but they're also giving way a lot of times in situations where people could have pushed it and caused a real bad incident early on. That didn't happen. But coming down the line, before I took the white flag, I had a pretty good gap. And I was like, I might be able to hold this on the last lap, and then they closed up again. And then coming down the hill, I just went to the inside, so Jesus, he made a run going the outside. I honestly didn't see Alan all of a sudden poke his nose between the two of us, and then the three of us got together kind of Days of Thunder style, crossing the line in a big crash in the air and everything. And I wasn't even sure if I won or not until I looked up at the board, but that was something else. It was a lot of fun.
And honestly, from our perspective in the commentary booth, we really didn't know who won until we took a look at the results as well. That finish was just absolutely ridiculous. So ridiculous, in fact, that I feel like I'm going to be down in cough drops for the rest of the day. But these Formula V races are always absolutely fantastic, and we've had the privilege of broadcasting a few of them on SMB throughout this season. So I want you to talk about your season here in this series.
Honestly, I've only been able to do a couple races over the summer just because my summer schedule is very busy. I just kind of pop in here and there, and same thing with the Formula Fords and the Spec Fords. But out of everything I do, I always enjoy these races the most. I like the format. I like the 30 minutes. I like the solo qual, and it's just a fun car. You always get good, solid racing through it. So the races that I have done have all been really fun, and I always enjoy getting into the racing with these folks.
The racing is just absolutely insane to watch as well, and I'm sure from your perspective behind the wheel, it's absolutely insane as well. But Chris Montgomery, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and congratulations on the victory here at Lime Rock Park. Is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Thanks to Adam for bringing us on board with him. I hate to see him go. Totally understand it. Family first. Good luck to you. And thanks to Zippy for taking over, and thanks to Michelle for having some of these races sponsored. We'd love to get a whole season sponsored to the Formula Vees again in the future. But thanks for her for getting some of these races sponsored, because as you saw, they typically put on a really good show.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for the kind words. Michelle, obviously, doing a great job here. Jimbo as well. But, you know, it wouldn't be possible without the drivers and the people in that league like you. And don't worry, I'll be around. May not be broadcasting with you guys, but I might be able to just come hang out with you guys and talk a little bit of crap in the actual race itself. And yeah, obviously, we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Daniel Zippy Salmon going to be taking over for me. But yeah, thank you so much, Chris. And yeah, I don't know. I'm scared, man. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be my first kid, and I don't know. I might just put it outside. I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm super excited.
I got that same treatment.
There you go. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you.
I think I should probably stress right after that quote that my parents never did anything nefarious with me. Anyways, Adam, would you like to have a chat with Michelle Lynn?
Yeah, actually, you know what? We're going to bring in Brian Stasinski first here. I don't think we've talked about him this whole season, or talked to him, I guess. Obviously, finished P3 in class, P6 overall tonight. Brian, what was that race like for you? Do you have any idea what was going on, or were you just holding on for the ride the whole time?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for everything you do. We were trying to figure out how to catch that front pack and trust each other and work together, and we finally figured it out, and we ended up catching them.
You did do that, and that's what I noticed, and we mentioned that multiple times during the broadcast, is those drivers up front, they were going 3-4 wide, and then about 5th place on back, or 6th place on back, you guys were making very tactical maneuvers, overtaking when you had to, down the front straight, but you guys stayed in the line till you got to them, and you got to them, Brian. I mean, that was, and your brother, I think it was your brother, kind of got caught out from a little bit of that, I think, because he was up there battling, and all of a sudden he was a little bit gone there.
That's what he texted me. He said he could see that once we started not passing and allowing the first guy a clean run through turn 1, then we started catching him, and he saw the times coming down, knowing that we were going to get him, and he was in the back there, so he was going to see us first.
He definitely did see you guys first, and then you decided to go ahead and wave to him as you went on by. There might be some brotherly love or a brotherly rivalry going on there, Brian. Can we bring that up at all?
Yeah, I mean, that was my goal this race, was I saw him up there. I qualified ahead of him. We started on the same row. I wanted to get back by him. I think he got a little wide in turn 1, and then I was kind of on the side of him in turn 2, and I think he had tires off still, and that was the last I saw of him, except for in my mirrors.
Well, yeah, it's a great thing for you, and now you can rub that in his face for the next few weeks as you guys get ready for the next official season. But let's recap this season, Brian. I mean, let's talk about exactly what you've gone through this season. Kind of explain how this season's gone for you. Just explain it all. Tell me what your thoughts were for the season as a whole.
Well, I was real racing a Formula Vee, trying to make the runoffs, so I missed the whole first part of the season. I hadn't been on iRacing since about March when I was getting the car ready, and then I came back into some practices, and I do qualifying and sit the race out because I wasn't comfortable enough, and I wasn't good enough. I didn't have the practice in, so I think I did the last 3-4 races, something like that, and slowly built up speed with consistency again. But I look forward to doing a full season and a full runoffs next week soon.
Yeah, well, good luck in the runoffs, and congratulations, and I hope to see you beating your brother. Dan, I hope you're not listening to this, but I hope to see you beating your brother next season, Brian. Anybody you want to shout out or thank before we let you go?
You guys and Stevie Ray, everybody that makes this happen. It's great to watch them back and hear you guys. My dad, my brother, we raced together. Yeah, just everybody involved. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian, and we hope to see you next season up here on SMB. But now we have to talk to the woman, the myth, the legend. She didn't have the greatest race today, Ron, but I'll go ahead and let you take this one away because she has meant so much to this league.
Yes, she has. Michelle Lynn is now joining us in the commentary booth. Hello, Michelle. Wasn't the best way to cap this season off, but we still want to thank you for making all of these broadcasts possible, and just want to bring you in to thank you about everything. And considering the race that you had, we'll probably not talk about the race that you had today, but I wanted to ask you about the season. Okay, you can talk about it. That's your decision. We don't want to force you to do anything.
I don't mind venting a little bit. That's fine. No, it was like, honestly, like I didn't have a great qualifying session. I am pretty quick here. The track in real life, Lime Rock, is where I actually got my competition license many years ago. I have done so many races there over the years, for real. And for some reason on iRacing, when it's a track that I know in real life extremely well, I don't do great on it. But today I was doing okay. Like, qualifying wasn't great. Early on, I was battling, making up some good positions, and then, I'm not going to call out my name, but like one of our drivers attempted like an inside, basically dive bomb into Big Bend and took out Guido and took out me, and then from there it was just, my car was undrivable, so I had to get towed back to the pits, but I wanted to finish because I was worried about the points. But I have some good news, because I just talked to Jim Brewster, who just did a really super fast calc on the points. I did win the S2 championship.
Hey,
so,
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So that's my second in a row, and next season I decided to move to S1. Even though my iRating is like only 1700 because I don't do official races like practically ever. And so it'll be a new season next year with like, I'm definitely not going to win the championship next year. There's like, Jesus is insanely fast, but also Jesus won the S1 championship, so congrats to him. What else do we have here? Oh, and congrats to Chris for winning the overall race and the S2 race, and I think Jesus won S1.
Yes. Yep.
And sorry, I'm sorry. I'm got so much adrenaline going right now. I'm gonna shut up and let you guys actually talk.
Ron, you want me to talk, because I can talk like Michelle can talk. We can be here forever. If you want.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I've been on the air pretty much every single day over the past week, and my vocal cords are hanging on virtually by the skin of their teeth. So yeah, Adam, if you want to have a chat with Michelle, you can. I'll let you two go at it. I'll finish my water bottle and my cough drop here.
Let's have a chat with Michelle. Michelle, I think this may be one of the first times I've been able to actually talk to you. I haven't been locked down in the production booth. I sent Zippy down there today, and there's a reason why I don't do this, is because I never shut up. But Michelle, obviously first chat with you. We've talked a little bit offline and things that are going on, and it sounds like you might be trying to get a little bit more FV action here on SMB coming up.
I'm trying. I mean, honestly, like, I said this before, like, I feel like the V's, like, we don't really get the attention, you know, like the Formula Fords and the Spec Racer Fords get all the attention, and it's like,
I hope you're listening to this, Stevie. You better be listening to this.
The little lowly V's, but we have great races. Not mine today, but normally we have really great races, and they're just amazing to watch. So I'm doing everything I can. Next season I want to try to get as many on as possible. If it means I have to personally sponsor some, I'll do it. If not, you know, maybe we can all pull it together. Maybe we can pick up a sponsor. Also, oh hey, a shout out to Will over at Steel Valley Vapors, and I know they've got people watching, and I am really sorry for disappointing today. I wanted to put on a good show for you guys, and it just wasn't in the cards.
I don't think Will is ever going to forgive you, Michelle. I really don't think that's going to happen. I'm just kidding.
No,
we've had some people. I think we've had some people watching Steel Valley, and yeah, again, massive shout out to Steel Valley Vapors, your one-stop vape shop, or whatever the heck Will wants to call it there in Ohio. But yeah, massive shout out to Will for sponsoring the last race here in the Formula V's. But kind of talk about your season as a whole, Michelle. Has it been better? Has it been worse? Kind of explain what you think has happened this season and where you guys are going from here.
So like last season, I ended up, winning the championship, and so I started this season kind of like a little bit more confident, right? Did some new setups on my V. Made a couple. I essentially have like 2 setups that I use for all the races. One oversteers, one oversteers a lot. I used the one that oversteers a lot today at Lime Rock. But I would say like I was doing pretty well in the season, and then I had like a set of 4 races in a row where I was just like stuck in my head every race, and I would have like an early self spin, and it was like my fault, no one else's. And then I just, after the 4th one, I ended up getting like a win, I think, in S2, and I got my confidence back, and I was feeling pretty good. I had like a 3rd place, I think, last week. I felt good about today. And it's just, that's the thing about racing. Like, either, you're on top of the moon or you are under the sea, So I guess I'm with the Little Mermaid today.
Well, I mean, that's okay. That's okay. But it sounds like we've got a chat here from Dan Szynski saying Brian is going to send this video to his engine builder to try to get some sponsors for next season. So I think things are looking up, at least for the Formula V's here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But Michelle, we're going to keep you in here for a minute, but is there anyone you want to thank or shout out before we bring Jimbo in to kind of talk about the admin stuff and how hard that's been this season?
Well, I can thank him like directly, but yeah, I have to thank Jim. Jim is like the head honcho for the V's. Takes care of, setting up all the races, the Friday night draft party, which honestly is my favorite part of the week. And of course, Stevie. This league is incredible, and the reason that I don't do official races anymore is because the people in this league, you become friends, and you're racing with friends. It also helps because, like, when you're behind someone, you kind of know what kind of driver they are. You know where you can pass them safely. And I think league racing to me reminds me the most of when I was doing vintage racing, where we're all out there pushing, but you're not trying to kill each other. So, aside from today. But I love it. I love it. This league is amazing, and it's like, on one hand, I want more people to join the league, but I also kind of want to protect the secret. But it's no secret. Stevie's been doing this for over a decade. I only joined iRacing last September, so I'm a newbie. But just everyone in the Weekend Warriors, it's like a family, and it's just some of the best racing you're going to come across. And to be honest, when you look in Garage 61 at the fast laps, it's usually one of the guys that are in here racing with us.
Yeah, I can't say, or I'm not going to disclose whether or not I've tried to run a few laps here, and I may or may not have Garage 61, and I may or may not have seen a few of those drivers up there on the top. And then I realized very quickly that I might be out of my zone here running with you guys, but I'm going to try it anyways, I think. But yeah, we're not going to let you go yet here, Michelle. We're going to bring Jim Brewster back in here, and we're going to have a chat with Jim and Michelle. I do this at the end, mostly at the end of every season that we do for the leagues that we cover. Just kind of want to talk about the adminning side of it, because I am also an admin in my own league. Been doing it for a few years, but I think, Jim, you might have been doing it for a few years as well. Kind of talk about how difficult it is. I mean, you've got, and Michelle, you've got to deal with the sponsorship side of it. You've got to deal with the broadcasting side of it. And then you've got the drivers, and you've got incidents. You've got all kinds of things that you guys have to go over.
The only negative is if people get in piston matches and they can't resolve it themselves. And with the V's, that hasn't happened. So Stevie has a much harder time with the surfs and the Fords. Hey, would you like to hear the final point totals?
Please. That's why we actually brought you in here. I want to know. I want to know what happened here. Tell me.
Nothing happened. Everything is. We were pretty much locked in coming in today because of the point system, the way you're doing replacing. After everybody has 9 races, the deltas aren't. The risk is not very big. Anyway, Jesus is so let me start with Class S1. Jesus Rodriguez is the champ with 908. Alan DeGassis is second at 18. I got lucky enough to get third with 738. And in S2, Michelle Lynn is our champion with 667 points. Garrett Bolt is second with 644 points. And Brian Hansen finished third with 563 points. So Jesus, Alan, and myself in S1. Michelle, Gary, and Brian in S2.
Well, Jesus, Alan, Brian, Michelle, everybody there in the top 3 of both classes. I hope you guys go enjoy your beverage of choice on this Saturday afternoon. If you guys don't have to work tomorrow, or if you don't enjoy beverages, enjoy whatever you guys want. Congratulations to those drivers for their win for the season. Let's talk about season racing as well. It's not just one race. We've had a bunch of great races this season, but does consistency pay off when you've got the drop weeks like this?
Yeah, for an old slow guy like me, for sure.
I'm in my 50s. Come on, like there's a lot of us old folks.
That's true. We do have a lot of old folks. No, consistency for sure. But speed is really convenient also. But like today, so I'm looking at the points. So Rocket Man Tour. So by the way, I don't know if any of you caught. I posted some stuff. The 750 Motor Club from Britain, which he kicked some butt on a couple weeks ago with his Formula Vee at Brands Hatch, did some really nice promotion work, and they posted a posting just of his car and his picture. He won the B class and finished second overall in a field of 28 cars. And anyway, so Thor with 399, almost a perfect score. I think he raced us 4 times and won all 4 times. Finished in 14th. So that's where the consistency, So he's driving at the speed of light, and stealing our lunch money whenever he shows up, and yet he finished 14th. So yeah, showing up and hanging out and staying on the track, staying on the black parts.
I was thinking he was going to show up today because I know he's really fast at Lime Rock. He said this at Brands Hatch. He's like, his 2 quickest tracks are Brands Hatch and Lime Rock. So it would have been interesting to see the times he would have been turning.
And we can talk about the real life drivers for just a minute. Michelle, I know you have done some real life driving in your time. Jim, I don't know about you. We haven't really chatted much, but I know Thor Tulo, Megan Overstreet. We have a lot of drivers in this Weekend Warriors series that have had some real life driving in it. We kind of talk about the difference between sim racing and real life racing all the time, right? And I do believe we're talking about Thor, for example, it does seem like it carries over. Some of it does carry over.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, I mean, so, we have Rocket Kid, Morgan Burkhart, and then a couple other, I'm terrible names, Deacon Greenfield and Murphy. We have several guys from the Tuesday night group that started at age 12, 13, 14 have come up with this Tuesday night Esports rig. 2 years ago, they were the SCCA Mid-Atlantic Region Co-Rookies of the Year. I think that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
And SCCA has got to get their head out of their butt. And I think they need to include this as part of the driver training, make it an option. Get your real driver's license out on the road and do 40 hours and 40 hours at night. Why aren't we asking people to do 40 hours of sim time? They get them in driver's school and they want them to worry about the 360-degree, recognition of cars around them in traffic. Where else are you going to learn that? This is the place to learn.
That is very true. If you think about, we can go on. This is going to turn into a podcast if we don't shut it down sometime. But we can go on. I'm obviously in the aviation field. I'm an aircraft mechanic, and we can talk about the pilots and the amount of sim time they have to do before they even put their butt in the seat of an actual airplane flight.
Don't get Stevie started.
I know. It is one of those things that you have to think about. And the fact that sim time, it's 2024 now. I think the 2020 issues did bring up a lot of great things for sim racing, and we can see how that has still kind of moved on. And we're definitely bringing sim racing more into the equation than it was before. If you look at
the other side of it, so a whole bunch of us met at the runoffs 2 years ago. We had 22 of us in a group photo. So the other side of it is there were a couple sim hardware people at the SCCA runoffs advertising, $60,000 and $100,000 rigs. iRacing was not there, and they're just as dumb as SCCA.
Right.
They should be at the runoffs. People are there for 4, 5, 6, 2 weeks. The racers are there for 2 weeks. There's all these extra garages. We were at VIR. For them, why they didn't have a table set up with 3 rigs and people seeing how a surf race looks like, a Formula Ford race, a Formula Vee race looks like, to say, hey, because SCCA claims they want to have 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation drivers and get the families into it. Well, iRacing, there's your customer base,
Yeah.
Granted, iRacing probably only cares about stock car racers and maybe IMSA racers, but this is a huge group to be. I think they're crazy to ignore. And in my opinion, they essentially are. Well, except for the fact they're giving us the cars, so they're not totally ignoring us. But anyway.
You heard it here first. Jim Brewster said, SCCA, get off your, I'm going to say it, get off your asses and start to think about us a little more.
Stevie has said that to them in person.
I know. Stevie has some words about the SCCA as well, but
I don't know if you know the backstory. During COVID, Stevie's Tuesday Night League was the official SCCA league. At the end of COVID, he said, gentlemen, would you like me to carry this on? And they said, no, thank you. We don't need this. We don't have the people to do it. He said, no, I can just keep doing it. And they said, no, thank you.
Well, I mean, I totally get that, but we are going to let you guys go before we start getting into an actual debate that's going to get us in trouble here. But Jim, Michelle, thank you so much for this season. I cannot wait to see you guys in the next season. I might be able to see you guys on track, but Jim, Michelle,
you know Michelle's news? You know her announcement? Has she told you?
Did I move in S1? I did tell them that.
She
okay,
did.
She's moving S1, and she even has a new number. She has a new number.
05, which is actually the number I ran on my Elva back in the day, so I'm really
going to be the new improved Michelle.
Watch out. All right, all you S1 drivers, watch out. Michelle Lynn's coming, and she is not going to take any prisoners. But
hey, next weekend's going to be crazy.
It will be. Oh, yeah.
No spoilers, no spoilers.
Yeah, I don't know if Daniel's, I think Daniel might be talking to Stevie about that. We can't give too much away, but Jim, Michelle, thank you so much for your time, and
we'll
talk to you guys soon.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
All right, that was Jim and Michelle, one of the two of the probably many admins in the Formula Vee Weekend Warriors. But real quick, before we let you go, we have run this very, very long, and I apologize for that. But I do want to bring something up. This was my last official broadcast for the Formula Vees. Daniel Salmon will be taking it over, but I wanted to do this. I wanted to do the commentary side because we had Ron in here as well, and Ron was obviously a newer commentator for us that came in because of the Weekend Warriors. And Ron, I just want to thank you so much for everything you've done, and I have a sneaky suspicion we might be seeing you around the slow motion broadcasting commentary booth just a little bit more in the future.
Possibly, perhaps. I will just leave it at that. Of course, Adam, you brought it up very well. Came over here to slow motion a matter of only a few months ago to follow the Weekend Warriors after they're working with a previous broadcaster that shall not be mentioned by name. Moved over here to slow motion. I was actually a part of the earlier part of the season, the first 2 weeks of the Formula Fords and the Spec Racer Fords, and I've been with it with an entire season before. The Weekend Warriors are always fantastically entertaining. It's really nice to see that the series is in good hands here on slow motion broadcasting. And Adam, it's also very good news that slow motion as a whole is going to be in good hands too, with our buddy Daniel taking things over.
Yeah, let's talk to Daniel real quick before we get out of here. Daniel, this was your first production for slow motion broadcasting. First of all, welcome to the club, my man. I am glad you're taking it over. And for all of the people that think SMB is going away, it is not. You can see it is in very good hands from what we saw today. Daniel, you picked it up great, but anything you want to say while I'm in here? Obviously, I'm going to tell you thank you for taking over what has been my baby for the last 4 years.
Well, I got to say the biggest thing is thank you for the opportunity, and anybody who's tuned into one of these slow motion broadcasts before will know that I don't normally sound quite as manly as this. I'm full of cold, COVID, all sorts of weird and wonderful things at this point, so that's why another reason I'm in the commentary booth. Obviously, like, head's not fully functional at this point. That's why I'm in the director booth today. But I gotta say, it's been a great opportunity to have that, and especially to work with like people like the Weekend Warriors as well, and our other broadcasts as well. And don't get me wrong, it's going to be a very steep learning curve. I've been commentating, I've produced a season of shows, but not with this software before either. So there is definitely a learning curve. I know Adam is going to review my camera work afterwards, and I don't think he's going to scold me too bad, not to the point I won't like it. But, I got to say as well, thank you everybody for joining in. And for a very first show producing, it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, what an ending. Like, absolutely phenomenal ending. Like, what a great series as well. And as well as, like, communication in the chat, like the Ron, help me out here.
Stasinski's.
Thank you. Like, the ingenuity from these guys, speaking to like engine suppliers and stuff like that, all about taking the sim rig to an actual course. I think that is fantastic, and I encourage you in these endeavors. And maybe we'll have to try and figure out a way to get some like slow motion broadcasting stickers made up or something, so that way at least when you are out representing, you can put in a good word for us as well.
I think we might be able to get some merch going. I'm going to have a little bit more time on my hands, but I'm going to put you on the spot again very quickly, Daniel, before we let everybody go for this Saturday afternoon. We need to bring up some upcoming streams here and talk about what we have coming up here in slow motion broadcasting for the rest of the weekend and for the rest of the week itself. On September 1st, tomorrow, by the way, in case you guys didn't realize. Oh, everybody shout out to my wife. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Sarah.
Oh, happy birthday.
Tomorrow we have the Formula Fords at Laguna Seca. Tune in for that one. You guys thought this one was good. That one could be good or could be better. We don't know. I don't think anything's going to get much better than what we saw today at Lime Rock, though. Then we've got the Spec Racer Fords there at Olton Park about 2 hours later, about an hour after our broadcast is for the Formula Fords. Don't go anywhere, though. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be running with a few drivers in the Cross Series League Racing Championship. We're going to be in the VW Beetle Light at Charlotte. In case you didn't know, I'm going to toot my own horn because this is still my company. I took the points lead last weekend, so I look to try to hold that points lead for the rest of the season. Then we've got SimCar for their final race on September 5th at Sebring in the GT3s. That is going to be an absolute blast. But until then, guys, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure. There is no words I can say for everything that everybody has done for slow motion broadcasting for the Weekend Warriors. Everything has just been an absolute blast this season, and I hope to see you guys all very, very soon. Have a great rest of your weekend.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
We welcome you all to slow motion for this presentation of the Formula Vee Weekend Warrior Series, and we're about to grab the start in just a few moments' time. It's going to be Megan Overstreet leading them to green with Ladar right alongside. We're waiting for that green flag to come at, and the drivers are now on their way. Some of these drivers may be a little bit more aggressive towards the end of this race, as side by side with Love and DeGassis heading into 5.
Oh, it's close. It's a bit treacherous on the corner. Rex is just seeing Lynn run wide there, Ron.
Down the running order, Love and Brewster, meanwhile, they have been in the tow and they've seen all these drivers try and do their own maneuvers. They definitely have something cooking behind the wheel of those FV race cars. As Montgomery gets that move done, one's running at the back. Well, not actually running right now, I don't believe, as there's a spinner with Ladar.
Oh, no.
Oh, and there's contact as well.